Hey everyone, this is Evan from 20 Sided Night, and today we're going to be talking about assembly uses. I know these creature features are typically filmed, but because of current situations, I haven't got my hair, nails, or makeup did in a while, so I'm not getting in front of the camera. But before we get into assembly uses, please remember to like this video if you learned something new, subscribe to see more content, and if you are already subscribed, make sure to click the notifications button to see when we put out a new video. Assembly uses can be found on page 16 of the Alien Archive 1, so if you came to Starfinder from either D&D or Pathfinder, it's reminiscent of a gelatinous cube. But like a lot of Starfinder's creatures, it does have a technological flair.
Future's now, old man.
Although nobody is quite certain the origin of assembly uses, most people believe that they came from the planet of Brethida as a way to introduce biotech into various automation processes, since Brethida is obsessed with biotech shenanigans. However, what we do know is that they are basically made out of protoplasm and countless poorly programmed nanomachines. And at some point during the pre-gap era, at least one assembly ooze had an error where they were unable to know the difference between scrap that was given to them to make more stuff, or anything else, which caused them to break containment, eat enough junk to undergo mitosis, and like any decent pest, spread throughout the galaxy to become everyone's problem. When an assembly ooze disassembles or eats something, it does so by having the countless nanomachines that it is made out of break down the material and convert it into virtual UPBs, which it can later use to assemble something else. Fortunately, they can only eat or disassemble inorganic matter. So, if you are a robot, they will eat all of you. If you are an android or a cyborg, they will only eat the technological parts of you. If you're a full meatbag, they can't eat you, but they can eat your fine Casio watch, which honestly is worse than dying. Casio-based tragedy aside, if left unchecked, a single assembly use can become a huge problem. For example, let's say that you have a single assembly ooze in an abandoned factory. The ooze slowly starts to eat parts of the factory, leaving random low-quality stuff in its wake. But if it ever eats as many UPBs as it can without assembling anything, it can undergo something resembling mitosis and split into two assembly oozes. Then 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16, 16 becomes 32, 32 becomes 64, 64 becomes 128. Eventually, you will be left with an empty lot filled with random crap and Terminator-looking jello. And as bad as that situation is, imagine if this is happening on your spaceship, especially when you consider the fact that they can squeeze themselves into extremely small places to get to something that they actually want. Because of this, assembly oozes have been used to sabotage various locations or cause a distraction. For example, the saboteur would put the assembly ooze in an organic container like a leather sack, or a null space chamber. Then once in place, they would let the ooze free so it can eat and make wish items to its heart's content. Luckily, they are weak to electricity and can be easily taken care of by a technomancer's jolting surge, a basic pulse caster pistol, or an expertly yoked glass of water and a toaster. On the screen, you can see the assembly ooze's stats. I'm only going to list the highlights, but feel free to pause the video if you want to read all of them. Their only senses are blind sight up to 60 feet, which makes sense because they don't have any eyes, but this still leaves them with a decent perception for their challenge rating. They do have ooze immunities, which means that they are immune from the following effects unless the source of the effect says that it specifically works on oozes. They are immune to the additional damage and special effects from a critical hit. They're also immune to paralysis, poison, polymorph, sleep, stunning, and any kind of ability where the effect comes from the target seeing the source, like gaze abilities or illusions. And they are also immune to flanking. Like I said before, they do have a weakness to electricity. This means that they take 1.5 the normal damage from electricity. So if you zap them for 5 damage, they will end up taking 8 damage. And if the effect would not deal any damage, they would get a -4 to any saving throw that they would need to make. They can understand but not speak common, which from a lore perspective shows that they still have some of the original code from when they were used as squishy 3D printers. But it is also kind of unsettling because it means that they could understand the screams and pleas from a robot or android that they were trying to eat, but they just didn't care. So here are the assembly ooze's two main abilities: disassemble and assemble. As a full action, an assembly ooze can envelop an unattended piece of technological gear that weighs no more than 5 bulk, which is 50 pounds, with an item level no greater than its challenge rating +2, which is typically 3. Unless the object succeeds a DC 12 Fortitude saving throw, the ooze's nanites break it down into its base components and the ooze gains a number of virtual UPBs equal to the gear's price in credits. An ooze can store up to 100 times its constitution modifier in virtual UPBs. If an ooze succeeds a grapple maneuver against a creature with a technological subtype, the creature takes 1d6 acid damage and the ooze gains 1 UPB per damage. Assembly takes at least 1 minute, but when it does, an assembly ooze rolls a d8, and depending on what they roll, they can make one of those items. As long as it is no more than 5 bulk, costs no more than the amount of virtual UPBs that they have stored up, and has an item level no greater than its challenge rating plus 2. There's also a 25% chance that the item that they make will have the broken condition. For more information about item damage, you can watch our video that we made about it. Here are my final thoughts about assembly oozes. They are a good choice for low-level party members, especially if their adventures are going to take them into a derelict factory, or maybe a laboratory that suffered some kind of containment breach. Some plot hooks for assembly oozes could be that there is a crime ring who is using them to make untraceable weapons, and the party's mission could be to put an end to these dastardly villains. Or maybe they're just there to buy weapons. I ain't judging. On the other end of the spectrum, there could be a poor community that uses assembly oozes to recycle garbage into things that they could actually use. But ever since that pesky Walmart came into town, the assembly oozes have started to go missing or have been destroyed. And it's up to your group to find out what's going on. And one final thing I wanted to say is that you could use an assembly ooze as an animal companion. Firstly, using Airbud Law.
You check in your rule book. Bet you won't find anything in there that says a dog can't play.
He's right! Ain't no rules that the dog can't play basketball.
The creature companion rules don't say what a creature companion can't be. Secondly, there is already a pre-made ooze pet, the Poorg, which does set precedence for a gooey animal companion. And thirdly, under bonding with creature companions, it says, however you obtain a creature companion, you could bond with it by attempting a survival check to handle an animal, even if it has a different creature type, and regardless of its intelligence score. Well everyone, that's going to wrap up this episode on assembly oozes. In the comments down below, tell me how you would use an assembly ooze in your game. And please remember to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe, and if you're already subscribed, make sure the notification bell is turned on. Have a great day. Hey you rascals, thank you for watching our video. Click here to subscribe, click here to watch one of our newer videos, and click here if you feel like watching something random. Have a good day.